Welcome back to the Backseat Startup Podcast with your host, Andrew Hutton.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Backseat Startup Podcast. I am your host, Andrew, and I'm on with Vincent Liu, founder of Unlost, which if you've been listening to the pod, you've definitely seen a few different AI startups. It's very much all the rage. We are here for it, especially when people are using, these founders that we talk to are using AI, not just for the willy-nillys, but really awesome use cases. And what we have here today, what Vincent is building with Unlost, absolutely counts into that category. I'm super excited to be talking about this new startup. Vincent is very early days, and for all of you to get to know what he's building and get to know about Unlost. So Vincent, welcome to the pod. Really excited to have you here.
Thanks, Andrew. Super stoked. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be good. So tell us about Unlost. Give us the elevator pitch, and I want to click in a few different places. But yeah, I'll let you put it on the table. What are you building? What are you working on?
So yeah, Unlost is in its current form, a Mac app that lets you search anything you've seen or heard on your laptop.
I just want okay. I almost jumped in too fast. One that's like sink in. Search anything you've seen or heard on your laptop. So again, I'm not going to answer the questions. I'm going to ask them. How does that work? Tell me how it does that.
So on a high level, it sort of records and monitor your screen, and yeah, take a snapshot every couple of seconds, analyze the content in the screenshots, and then index the text that you can find in those screenshots, so you can semantically search it afterwards.
That's so cool. I don't know if I've heard of anyone taking that approach, but I like that it's just like kind of an ever-present, over your shoulder, right? That's the whole idea. It's over your shoulder, things that you're doing. Tell us a little bit of the story or some of the inspiration for this, because this is also a fairly new idea, and you're a technical guy and you're coding and cranking away, which I love, right? Sometimes I hear stories where this is like a passion since you were a kid, right? This isn't quite that, because AI is not even that old, right? Or at least this latest wave. So tell everyone listening a little bit of the story that you just told me about how how Unlost came to be.
Exactly. Yeah. So the idea that came from an incident I had a couple of months ago when I was trying to look for a flight ticket that I bought. And it was, I think the email for the flight ticket was in Swedish, or the translation wasn't that great. So I tried to look for it, spent a good 10-20 minutes looking for it, couldn't find it. And I was, a little bit annoyed because I had to check in online for the flight next morning. So I sort of was short in time as well. So yeah, that sort of just gave me an idea that we spend loads of time looking for things, losing track of where things were. If we're not, diligent like some other people who keep track of everything, we do waste a lot of time in doing things like this, and that's where the idea came from originally.
I love it. And like we all just have like those moments, right? Whether they're sort of just like silly, right? Or just like in that moment, or, I can just think of all these different use cases in business where you're just searching like, just remind me, what is that person up to? Like, hey, did that person input their status? Like, right? Like, could you get to all those use cases, right? Like, did these things happen? Did that person, I don't know. There's like so many different use cases. Like, how far afield do you think this goes in terms of applications?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, it does apply to a lot of users. In that sense, like everyone who uses laptop, uses computer, who uses a lot of apps, moving information from one app to the other, would find this tool quite useful. And quite a recent discovery myself as well is some of my users suffer from ADHD and they find this app incredibly useful. This is a good, really, really interesting idea in itself as well. But yeah, I see this app. Where I see this app going is, people using it, relying on it as a search engine, so they don't, they stop, I guess, wasting time taking detailed notes, or just, just stop spending so much time recalling things, trying to look for things. Really rely on computer and AI to do the searching and indexing for us.
Yeah. I mean, we all just live on our computers, whether that's what intermediates so much of our work life, or we're using that for to-do lists, for just email, and having that over your shoulder for whatever reason, right? I think, like you said, there's some interesting use cases here. So tell us a bit about. So I know, I can't remember if you mentioned this. You're just a few months into this, but you're building. It's live. Or there's a version live. Tell us where's this going? Like where's the trajectory of this kind of business, and like who's using it today, and where are you taking it?
Yeah, it's a good question. So currently we've got 80 early alpha users using the app, and they are like, they're quite good users. They tend to provide me with lots of feedback. Sometimes good, sometimes not quite good. It's really nice.
You're either. I always say you're either right or you're learning, right? So it's all good. And it sounds like you're moving up that learning curve quite quickly, and that's about all you can ask for at this stage. Yeah. So no, make sure that is a positive spin on all the feedback you're getting.
Exactly. Having progress is key, I feel like, at this stage. But yeah, in next couple of weeks, and I tend to do another launch, slightly more public launch, so that I can give more people use it now that it's a little bit more stable, a little bit useful, and then we'll see how it goes. There are big plans ahead in terms of what we can do with it.
Big plans. I'm excited for those. There's, I think if you're listening in, there's like, this is like the frontier edge, right? Like, you're building on these LLMs or the recent advances, right? Like, this is not possible a year ago, or unless you were working at OpenAI. I'm sure they could have built this a year ago, right? But like, as a lay person, or just somebody working with the technologies available. So yeah, I think for anyone listening who's trying to keep up with AI, I think we all are, right? I think Unlost is definitely worth checking out, and absolutely the kind of thing that AI is going to be doing some like real value for us, like very passive but useful when needed. I think it's got all the right characteristics.
This episode of the Backseat Startup is brought to you by Sollas. Sollas specializes in providing product design solutions tailored to the needs of early-stage startups with a rapid design development time of 7 days. This swift delivery is ideal for validating ideas and launching your product with confidence. Get your product design with a scalable design system in 7 days. Learn more through the link in the show notes. Now, back to the show.
So Vincent, I appreciate you putting that on the table. So now everyone gets to know a little bit about what you're building. I think they can also draw some conclusions about you as a founder. And so now what we're going to do is what we do on the Backseat Startup Podcast. The reason I call it the Backseat Startup is because we're going to go bite off a question or two from some strangers on the internet by jumping into Reddit, the that place of all things, everything. No, I've been scrolling, looking for a question that I think will be interesting. So we're in the R Startups subreddit. There's a lot of everything, but there's some good questions. Here, I've actually jumped to one that I think we probably don't even need to scroll too far, right? But I'm not even going to necessarily read this whole question here, but the idea of an MVP waitlist advice. Not even a question, just give me advice on MVPs and waitlists. That was really the last thing you just said, is that you've got a product live. We'll call it an MVP, right? It's maybe not as minimal as it could have been. You're building it. So you're past MVP, you're into product iteration, but you also have a wait list. And so you've been playing that game. So tell us a little bit more about how you've done mechanically your wait list and how you've been playing that. Because again, like the tactics of this, I'll ask you the question, is like, how are you implementing a wait list and getting people off your wait list to use your MVP in a way that keeps track of these people, keeps track of who's doing what, gets actual feedback. So again, I think you've been successful on using a wait list and an MVP to get user feedback, to keep people engaged. Tell us a little bit about how it's been, and we'll go from there.
Sure. This is actually my first time doing this waitlist MVP combo type of situations as well. So I hope I can offer something of value. But yeah, I had the waitlist up public for 3 weeks. Been doing some posts on it on Reddit. Got a bit of traction. People were signing up. Intentionally kept the landing page of the waitlist just quite simple. They don't really have to put in a lot of information, so as frictionless as possible in terms of waitlist. And then once you've got, I guess, a decent amount of users and you are sort of confident that your MVP, is usable by users, stable, then you can start onboarding users. My approach to it is really test, especially the first 2 to 3 batches. I guess the first point is to try to order people, onboard people in batches, because inevitably, if you're building a tech product, there will be bugs, things will break, and you have to fix it, and you don't want to disappoint a whole list of users. You want to try to disappoint less people, fix it, and then onboard the next batch to make sure the experience keep improving as they use it. So that's one tactic I use, and also try to onboard the batches of, incrementally. So onboarding smaller batches at the start, and then when you're confident, start onboarding larger batches.
Yep, because a smaller batch, especially if it's your first batch, one person, 5 people, they're going to uncover something, and you don't want too many things because you're just going to be overwhelmed, right? But exactly. as you reduce the bugs and things get improved, now you need 10 people to uncover the same amount of bugs. Then you need 20 people. So in some ways, we talked about this. I just mentioned this. I was like, all those learnings are positive, right? There's nothing negative about someone saying this isn't working, because now it's going to get better, right? And so you're really actually trying to keep steady the kind of learnings, right? You don't want to be overwhelmed, although that'd be maybe a good problem to have, right? But you also don't want to be too underwhelmed. So I love the idea of batching. I love the idea of progression or getting those larger. Did you do any qualification of these folks? They basically just signed up. So if they signed up, they were worth bringing on board. Is that about fair for how you did it?
Basically, yes. But also sort of looked at what their profession is.
Oh, you did? Okay. So you did a little qualification or learning about them ahead of time.
Yeah, just to mainly validate whether their system can use the app really, and the profession a little bit. But yeah, just nothing too personal. It's just what kind of work they tend to do on the computer.
Yep. So let's go back upstream, right? You mentioned, a simple website, a simple sign-up form, and where did you go get these folks? How did you go build your waitlist itself? I think that's probably the thing that gets most people stressed, is they can do these mechanics, onboard batching people, all these things, but how did you build the waitlist itself?
It's a good question. I think some of the conventional startup advice here would be quite useful. Is that you need to know who your target audience is and where they might hang out. Because you can advertise wherever you want. You can do it on Twitter, you can do it on LinkedIn, you can do it on Reddit. But if they're not on that platform, your message is not going to reach them. So you need to understand where your target audience hang out. And for me, I was sort of targeting people who use laptops a lot. So at first I was targeting engineers, students who use laptops a lot. And I tried Twitter. I didn't get a lot of results there, mainly because I didn't have a large following either. So that could be it. And then, moved on to Reddit, which is sort of my second choice of platform. I went there, did a little post on, describing what I'm building, what I'm trying to do, appreciate some feedback. And it sort of went viral for a day on subreddit macOS, and then got loads of sign up there. Most of my sign ups actually from the subreddit macOS.
I love that. There's probably some art to picking the right subreddit, right? In terms of, there's a lot of them, right? In some ways, if you strike out on one, you can go find another. It's like a whole different universe, right?
Exactly.
But I've heard of AI apps going viral and viral-ish on Reddit. It does seem like the right place. So again, if you're listening and you've got an AI app, Definitely Reddit. Definitely. I mean, describe it. Did you post a video? Did you just kind of like write your description? Like, how salesy did you get, or was it, again, how'd you frame that? I think that's really important for succeeding on Reddit.
Yeah. I think the way I frame it was actually a bit cheeky because
Okay, I'm here for this. Yeah.
the thing is, Unlost has a really huge competitor who's VC backed. They're building a similar product. So my strategy there was to not sales, but portray it as a free alternative, and emphasizing that it's similar to that, to that product that larger company is building, and I'm not really shying away from the fact that they're similar, but we do have different visions. So I made that quite clear in the post. So yeah, using that as a point in the title, and then just description.
That's interesting. That's interesting. They always say, if you want to get a lot of engagement on like Twitter or Reddit, this isn't what you did, but you post something not just controversial, you post something incorrect, right? Like You've heard that. Again, this is a bit of a riff, because if you want people to respond, say something like 5 + 4 = 9. Or that's true. 5 + 4 = 10, right? 5 + 4 = 10. And then you will get the reply guys destroying you, but then your engagement will go to the moon, right? And then you say download an app, right? Or say like Taylor Swift is the worst or something, right? Again, now that's like too cheeky, right? But that'd be actually really funny to be like, hey guys, launching my app, but first, Taylor Swift sucks. Second, and just get like outrage. Okay, don't do this. This was not Vincent's. This is Andrew's advice. It's probably bad, but do something a little cheeky. Bring up your competitor and show how you're just cheaper, better, faster. Throw the VCs under a bus. We'd love to do that, right? That's cool. So you did it right, and this wasn't like you tried a few things. Again, like you probably got a hit sooner than a lot of people, but that's just because the app is cool and you were smart about it, meaning if you're listening, you're probably going to have to try more than 2 or 3 things, right? Like, I don't know, that's my addition to that. But don't stop until you get those few hundred signups, right? Like, it's kind of necessary to actually, how many signups did you need to start getting those, like the data you need? You said you had 250, but you only let 80 in. So even if you only had 100 signups, you'd be okay, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Just about.
Yeah. To be fair, like before the post went viral, I only had like 20, 30 signups. But yeah, once that happened, it just skyrocketed to 200, 250. So I didn't really. There wasn't like a midpoint where it was like 100, and then decided to start onboarding people. So yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Vincent, this has been a really very tactical, punchy Backseat Startup advice from Reddit section. So I think we can call it there. There's probably tons we could go into. If people are listening and you want to have follow-ups, go find Vincent on Twitter. Vincent, actually, before we go, where can people find you? Personally, where can they go find Unlost? Like, tell us where to go so that we can follow along and dive in.
Excellent. Yeah, you can find the product Unlost at unlost.ai. And if you do want to reach out to me personally, my Twitter handle is VinceBuildsAI, Vince_builds_AI.
I love it. So Vince Builds AI on Twitter. Everything's in the show notes, so you shouldn't be too lost. Get unlost, so you can always find things. And I'm really excited to see where this goes. Excited for you to launch. Excited for your vision, for all the different ways that you're going to take this and build on top of it. Again, this is, I think you're doing this right with, something very punchy and clear to start, but the world's your oyster. And yeah, Vincent, this has been really exciting. I'm glad we got to share this with the audience, with the world. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. And with that, for everyone listening, thanks for being here. We'll call it a day. See you next time. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Andrew.